On this episode of Game Shack, I build an arcade one-up riser to see how hard it is and ask the question, is it worth to buy one? Coming up next. Hey everybody, welcome on into the show. I'm JDV for EvilGeniusEntertainment.com. Welcome on into the Game Shack. On this episode, I'm going to talk about and show you how to build an arcade one-up riser. A couple of episodes ago, I talked about whether or not it was worth it to try to modify an arcade one-up machine. Some of the things that you could do. I added a new control deck. I've added a stereo, and I'll show you how to add a stereo and new speakers on a different episode, and how to put in a RetroPie and all that. And I forgot that one of the easiest things that you can do, and maybe even one of the most impactful things that you can do to your arcade one-up machine. I have not built one yet, so this is going to be the first time I build this, so I'll do that on camera. And we're going to see, should you add a riser to these things? Is it worth it? And how hard is it to do it? And is it worth 50 bucks? Because that's about what it costs to get these things going. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to switch over and open up this thing and see what you get for your money. All right, I've taken all the pieces out here. You can see this is the front. This is something that you can buy a replacement for from a place like Tulsa Arcades, where it'll be an LED light up screen. They're really super slick. I want to say they go for 50, but they might be going for 100. I'm not sure. But for 100 or less, you can replace this piece with an LED graphic that will match your cabinet. I might end up doing that for this. Okay, so you get a front. Looks like you're going to get four, well actually it looks like you get 6 pieces of this. Now, so this looks to be the exact same thickness as the game itself. Same sort of fit and finish. It's MDA board, the highly kind of compressed press board, and it really looks good. I have to say, I was a little hesitant to spend $50 on something like this, and I'm going to do a video on making one of my own, essentially using this as a template to make another one, and I want to see how hard it is to make one of these using this as a template. I didn't want to cut this without having seen this, without having seen at least one riser, an official one in person. I want to see how well it fits. I've heard these will kind of float a little bit in there, so I want to see how well a good one is. But anyway, so far it's come together very nicely. Or I mean, it's come nice. I don't see any scratches or dents or anything like that. So. And it looks pretty slick. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure that these feet are all lined up all the way across the bottom. Okay. Okay, so nothing too complicated so far. Just make sure you have 2 wood pegs in each side. Make sure they all line up. Make sure that these little white rubber plastic hard feet are all on the bottom, and that should go as planned. Okay, so I'm going to just take a wild shot in the dark and guess that we're going to be putting on the front and the back plate. Now, it doesn't look like there's any real difference in where you put these plates. So, okay. So again, the feet. All right. Feet are on the bottom. You line them up and you put them in. You take the big screws and you keep rolling. So I've put all of them in. You can kind of see that's the bottom. Here's the front. And this feels pretty solid. It feels, again, very comparable to the arcade unit. And it looks like unlike some of the cabinet sets that come with extra screws, there's exactly the right amount of screws. So if they short you out on screws, I think you'd be a little, there's no backup. So apparently they're pretty confident in that. Okay, so this is already a very solid little box. These just simply sit down in, and look out for these holes. Look to face up. Yes, okay. So these holes here, you can see that, line up there's a hole here, and there's a hole here, and that's where you line these up. So the big side's up. If you see there's a little tiny hole there, just make sure the big hole's up, and we're about done with this. Now this is actually very tight here, so you might have to kind of go in at the side and go in. Okay, so that part's done. Okay. And that's it, the box is done. All right, so this is kind of what it looks like. See all that? Okay, so that took, I want to guess, about 10 minutes, and that was with me kind of making sure I had cameras and everything. So a pretty easy build. I had read somewhere that these were kind of hard to put together, but they're really not. I mean, that was easy. It was not bad at all. Okay, but now for the moment of truth, how does it look with the arcade machine? All right, well, let's find out. It makes a big difference to have this riser. I wasn't sure that a 1-foot riser was going to make a big enough difference on this. I thought, maybe 14 or 16 inches, but as it turns out, a 1-foot riser is perfect. Again, I'm about 6'1", and see here, you can play easily, for the fighting style games and all that. The screws included, the small ones, there's 4 of them, would go into holes on either side of the riser to stop it from sliding around. If you were playing, say, a fighting game, I'm not sure you would need it just to play something like Pac-Man or Galaga or something like that. I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to use these screws because of course you'll be putting holes in your cabinet. That said, there are already 4 or 5 screws in your average arcade 1-up cabinet anyway, so I don't know that it's that big a deal, but it's something to consider. I might try Velcro first before I try this solution. Let me show you one more thing in terms of, so I have a little stool here, right? So if you're sitting on a stool, it puts you right there. And so it really is neat in terms of its size. The sizing of the thing is absolutely perfect. And it is kind of cool that it comes with, comes small, without it, because it is perfect. It's sitting in the Pac-Man machine is sitting in my living room right now. The kids can just sit in a normal kitchen chair and play it, and it works fantastic. And then if you want, say adults to play it like I do for this machine, you buy one of these risers and bam, you're done. So is it worth $40+ for one of these arcade 1-up risers? And I would say yes, but only provisionally. It's worth it if you only have maybe 1 or 2 machines. Just for the mess, and you don't have to think. You can build it in 10 minutes, bam, you're done. It's raised, it's very professional looking, it matches the other stuff. That said, I just went onto Lowell's website to see what a 4x8 piece of MDF, this kind of press board cost. Well, it's not press board, it's like super fine sawdust that's kind of glued together. And for a 3/4 inch thick, so a 1/4 inch thicker than this is, 4x8 piece of wood is $33. So with that, a 4x8, I'm reckoning I could probably make 4 of these risers out of it. So they are charging a pretty penny for these things. Again, figuring that maybe you'll only have 1 or 2 of them, and just for the pain in the butt aspect of trying to build it yourself, you'd probably spend it. I know I did. Now, one thing I would really complain about is that is a little bit much. I know it's heavy and there's shipping and all of that, but it is a little pricey. I'd like to see it closer down to $30, maybe even $25. And maybe worst of all, it doesn't come with any plastic nubs or any anything to block up the holes that the screws. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. There's 16 holes, 20 holes in this thing altogether, and there's no way to block them up. I mean, yeah, you could come up with your own way to do it with tape or something else, but it seems like for a company that is kind of starting to make its name on fit and finish and being slick, it seems like for $44 it'd come with something in there that would do it. I would also think that they'd have something a little more sophisticated than just 4 screws to put this unit on there. I would have liked to have seen strips of Velcro or hooks, some other mechanism by which it wouldn't damage your cabinet to adhere it to. So I guess it depends on how, if you have several machines, I would say definitely look at, maybe buying one of these things and then making your own. I would say that for $44, it'd be a lot closer to being worth it to me if it had the graphics for the Space Invaders or Pac-Man or something like that already on there. And as far as I know, you can't buy that off of their website. You can, essentially when you're buying, let's say, a riser that is Space Invaders riser separately, you're buying it from somebody who had it as a package deal and is now just kind of selling off the pieces. If I were going to give a grade to this, I would give it a B. Mostly because of price. I think if it were cheaper, heck, even $35 is a lot more appealing to me than the $43 or $44 that I bought this for at Walmart. It's just, man, you can buy a lot of MDF for 33 bucks, and this is 43, and it has maybe a sixth of that amount of wood. That said, it has the pre-drilled holes, and it does have a very, very nice surface. It went together very easily, so it's no brain. So I think if you only have one machine and you're only thinking of getting one machine, it probably is worth it. If you are thinking about getting multiple machines, like 3 or 4 of them, then I would say no, it probably isn't worth it to you, because you can make your own and then slick it with whatever graphic you want. Okay, well, that's it for this episode. The putting together of an Arcade 1-Up riser. It is very easy to do. It does add a lot of a lot of wow factor, I guess. I don't know that the bang for buck is so great because, I mean, worst comes to worst, you could always do what I did at first, which was just stick some wood on top of a milk crate, and that worked too. Thanks for stopping by. Please like this and like this video, or subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Love each other. Until next time, I'll see you in the Game Shack. Mwah! Plop. Be sure to visit EvilGeniusEntertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.